There are too many times that the Republican Party has not honored the Second Amendment candidate. And I got to tell you, as much talk as the Republican Party gives, you know what I mean? If we can't rely on them, I mean, come on.
Not Me is for women, by women, and is designed to help women with training, purchasing a gun, and getting a concealed carry permit. And guess what? It is totally free. If you're a woman or you know a woman who needs help, have her sign up and we'll give her the help she needs. Just go to notmesd.org, notmesd.org. You know, Bob Siegel's not in tonight.
Bob Siegel's not in the house.
Let's do a food show.
Okay, what is he not? He didn't have a show on?
Well, they're going to have a tape show. We'll just 86 that, and we'll just do food.
We should do it.
Wouldn't it be
Spaghetti
fun?
and
We'll
McRib.
revolt. We'll talk about food.
Did you hear that, Brendan?
Loud and clear. I'll let Bob know.
Food hour.
Yeah. Oh yeah, let Bob know. He'll be down here in 20 minutes. What do you bet?
We'll call the show Food Hour,
Yeah.
but it'll be food, OUR.
Oh, I like that.
It's so deep.
Come up with a new intro.
Okay, let's talk about SB2. Okay,
is
so let's SB2 is Senate Bill 2, and it is. Let me give you the whole story. So SB2. Let's kind of start from the beginning here. The Bruin case out of New York said, "Hey, you know what? And we're gonna do this in plain language, so that everybody can understand exactly what's going on. It's not gonna be a lot of legalese here." The Bruin decision went to the Supreme Court. The Bruin case went to the Supreme Court. They had a very similar CCW scam, and as far as getting your CCW in New York that we do here in California, you had to prove, good cause. So went to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said no more of that. You can't have these subjective creative writing contests in order to get a CCW. So that completely wiped out the good cause. Now, meanwhile, back in California, most counties, almost every county was issuing, including LA at the time. They were kind of, they were saying, yeah, write 13 sentences, and that'll be your good cause. And pretty much whatever you write is, good to go. San Diego was issuing, Riverside was issuing, Orange was issuing, San Bernardino. Even at the time, Villanueva, the sheriff, was issuing in LA. San Francisco wasn't issuing, but most other counties were issuing. We'd pretty much gotten past the good cause hurdle. And that was a lot of hard work. There was a lot of work. It didn't just happen. That didn't just happen. That was activists in across the state in every county, activists in San Diego who beat up on the sheriff and said, "Look, this is important. You better do it." And he did it. That was Gore. He did it. And thank you so much, Sheriff Gore, for changing your mind, having the wisdom and the courage to change your mind. Riverside voted Sniff out, Sheriff Sniff, who was horrible. Voted him out and got one of the best elected officials I have ever met, and that's Chad Bianco. Fantastic. Don Barnes up in Orange. On and on and on. This was activism. This didn't just happen. The people sitting around complaining didn't get this done. The people on the ground got this done. So we'd pretty much gotten past good cause. That wasn't a hurdle for very many people anymore, but the Bruin case completely wiped it out. Well, Newsom had a fit. But he didn't just have a fit based on the Bruin case and CCWs. It was really an abortion case out of Texas that he had a fit about. They basically, what the Supreme Court, I'm not going to get way too into that case, but the Supreme Court basically said, yeah, you can put a lot more restrictions on abortion than currently there is. They basically turned it over to the states. They said this isn't a federal thing. States, you can pretty much do whatever you want. If you're in a state that wants to heavily restrict, you can do that. If you're a state that doesn't want to heavily restrict, you can do that. He threw a fit about that and took it out on gun owners. He basically said, look, right-wing, conservatives, Republicans, whatever you want to label them, Governor Newsom said, look, you guys, one of your sacred cows is the Second Amendment, so we're going to do to the Second Amendment what you're doing to abortion. That was, I'm paraphrasing, that's basically what he said and what he was doing. So he went after guns. He went after guns in California, and the biggest thing was this SB2. He said, okay, well, if we have to issue permits, then we're going to heavily restrict where you can carry, even if you have a permit. And they tried to do it in 2022, but didn't have the votes because they tried to do this emergency order, which meant that you had to have a lot more votes in the legislature than you do if you just do it through the normal legislative process. So in 2023, SB2, bam, they got the votes. And there are a lot of parts to SB2. They centralize the process, basically. So they decide what gets taught and who gets to teach it. They added a mental health component, which meant that they had to talk more. Basically, you have to talk more about mental health and how to recognize it, I guess maybe the best way to put it. They did. They talked about. They doubled the training requirements. So rather than 8 hours to get your initial, now it's 16 hours. Rather than 4 hours to get a renewal, now it's 8 hours. So there are a lot of little pieces to SB2, but the big 900-pound gorilla was that they, in essence, made every place outside of your home a sensitive area. I mean, there really isn't much left.
Right.
Medical facilities, right? Any kind of medical facilities. I mean, it could be your lens crafter, your eye doctor or whatever.
And the parking lot.
Dentist and the parking lot combined. Mm-hmm. Any kind of medical, like anything that even touches medical. Any kind of retail store, any kind of grocery store, any kind of house of worship, whether it's a synagogue or a church or a temple, whatever.
Why don't you just tell us the areas you can go?
Your home.
Your car when you're not in a parking lot.
And that's it.
Your home is really it. Now here's one big exception, which isn't an exception at all. Mm-hmm. Is they said, all right, if a place of business posts a California DOJ approved sign that says you can carry here, then it's okay to carry there. And that's pretty much the only exception.
But think of that from a business perspective. What business is going to take that liability? I hope there are, but
even deeper than that, it smacks of the type of Jim Crow racism. Mm-hmm. We've all seen, the 1950s, the 1960s, when there were signs up that said whites only.
Yep.
There were signs up that said, whites only bathroom, whites only drinking fountain. It is not hyperbole. It is not an exaggeration in any way to say that it is the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing. And, for trying to exercise and practice a civil right like self-defense by carrying the most effective self-defense tool ever invented and having a sign up that's, a political statement, making a private business, or a church or a medical, whatever, make a political statement, like you pointed out, Alicia, that, hey, it's okay, to support the Second Amendment here, is exactly what the judge said last week when he gave his decision and put an injunction on this. It is repugnant. It is absolutely repugnant. And it is such a horrible violation. It is no different than the Jim Crow laws against blacks in America. It is no different than the incarceration laws against people of Japanese heritage in the 40s. It is no different than when the abuse that Irish immigrants faced when they came to the East Coast through Ellis Island, through Italian immigrants. It's no different. It's no different than the country clubs and different social places that were legally allowed to discriminate against Jews for their beliefs. It is no different. It is discrimination, and it's again based on a civil right. And time and time again, this happens, and then we got to fight. It doesn't just disappear on its own. We got to fight it. So he passed SB2. It passed. He signed it into law. He had a celebration of a press conference when he signed it into law. And then at the last minute, in December, just a few weeks ago, is when they first started talking about how they were even going to implement it. They tried to wipe out all the CCW instructors. We're still working on that. Kelly Martinez, the sheriff here in San Diego, basically said nothing changes in 2024, that the California DOJ's got to get all their stuff in one sock because this is not acceptable. And we're so glad that she did that. But last week, Judge Carney, he put an injunction, which meant that he stopped the enforcement of the sensitive areas piece. He said this is not going to be enforced. That this sensitive areas thing, if you have a CCW, you can carry everywhere you could before. This SB2 thing is not going to fly.
And he didn't mince words. He was He was harsh.
Very hard. Again,
And it was
the word
wonderful.
repugnant. It was an excellent thing. And we thought, great, this is good to go. Saturday, the Ninth Circuit said, hey, you know what? We're not gonna honor this injunction. So the judge said that, not to enforce this thing. We're overruling that. And we're going to give the whole thing to another committee. It's called the Merits Committee. And really what it is supposed to do is it's supposed to evaluate this thing kind of unemotionally, unpolitically, and say, hey, is this the type of thing that there should be an injunction on, or is this normal? Is this within the rules? And if they have any kind of if they're true to their word, and they do what they're supposed to do as judges, they will quickly say, you know what, this injunction needs to stay. This thing needs to be, we need to not enforce this until it works its way through the court, because it is such an extreme difference. And it's not like, it's not like the law, how do I put this? It's not like it is introducing something dangerous. What it's doing is it's saying, hey, everything needs to stay how it is until we determine what we want to do is legal. Okay, so it's not like it's forcing us to do something or forcing something on us. It's completely different from that. So the bad news is, come tonight at midnight, SB2 is completely and 100% fully in effect, which means that you have to be aware. We're sending out an email so that you know where you can and can't carry. But in essence, it's almost impossible to carry anywhere. So be aware. But this is nowhere near the end of the fight. Not even close. So 2024, your New Year's resolution, get involved. Whatever you did last year, do twice as much this year. If you gave us $10 last year, give us $100 this year. If you volunteered once last year, volunteer twice this year. And if it's not us, it's got to be somebody. But you can't just sit there any longer. This is a huge violation, and we're going to win, but we need your help.
Hey, a lot of companies waste an enormous amount of money in marketing. The design is excellent, the photos are beautiful, and your website looks great. But it's just not getting customers. Why? Because you don't have the words that make people buy. But now you can fix that with Sage Tree. Sage Tree can help you find the words that make it easy for your customers to understand what to do and how to buy from you. So stop wasting your money today and schedule a call. Getting started is real easy. Visit sagetree.com and click on the schedule an appointment button at sagetree.com and click on that schedule a call, and they'll get right to you.
So there's a lot of work to be done in 2024. The emphasis, obviously, what can you do for the lawsuits? The reality is the lawsuits, you can read about them, but that's not really activism. The only thing at this point you can do is, stay within the law, but support the groups that are filing lawsuits. Become a member, make a donation, do what you can. But there's a whole other piece of this. We can't just rely on lawsuits. Lawsuits are, it's like 10,000 pounds of cure, where activism is the ounce of prevention. So this year, some of the highlights that we're going to be focusing are the gun shows. And there are gun shows in Orange County. There are gun shows in San Bernardino / Riverside. And now there are gun shows in San Diego. So participate. Go to the gun shows. Mark your calendar. Show up, volunteer, buy a ticket, all the above, whatever you can do, but don't do none of the above. We're going to have Gun Prom. Gun Prom's going to come up in October. Gun Prom's going to be a lot of fun down here in San Diego. It looks like it's going to be in the Carlsbad area at the Omni. It's going to be a lot of fun. But we'll announce that in full later this year, I promise. And but another big thing that's happening is we have an election in March. And then we have an election in November. And both are important, but there's a whole lot more going on in November than there is in March. March, for the first time ever, San Diego County Gun Owners is going to endorse Central Committee members for the Republican Party. Now, the Central Committee is basically, it's about 50, 60 people in San Diego who are elected. They've been on your ballot. You may or may not have voted for them, but they've been on your ballot. And they're the ones that decide who gets endorsed by the Republican Party, how the money's spent. They decide a lot of things when it comes to the Republican Party. And for the first time ever, we are going to endorse a group of Central Committee members or candidates to make it to the Central Committee. Extremely important. It's extremely important. There are too many times that the Republican Party has not honored the Second Amendment candidate. And I got to tell you, as much talk as the Republican Party gives, you know what I mean? If we can't rely on them, I mean, come on. And frankly, for the last, I don't know how many years, right? Last few decades, we haven't been able to rely on them. So San Diego County gun owners endorsing Central Committee members is our first step to making sure that we can always rely on the Republican Party so we don't get stabbed in the back when we're trying to convince the Democrat Party that self-defense is important. Because frankly, we've been stabbed in the back way too many times by the Republican Party. So what do? Do we complain and cry and whine? No, we get involved. So that's how we're getting involved. We're going to endorse Republican Party, Central Committee Republican Party folks. So, last year was a good year in a lot of ways. We built up the organization. Even though it was a tough economy, we got a lot of things done. We increased the amount of CCWs being issued by endorsing and getting the right person elected. She increased it from about 150, 200 a month to over 700 a month. That is a very important thing. The simple act of getting her elected was a very important thing. And this November, we have a few very, very important candidates that we're definitely going to need your help with. But the endorsement list should be out in January, and there should be, like I said, a small list in March, and then a big list for November. It won't be. We'll endorse some more by the time November rolls around. Same with Orange County, same with Inland Empire. We're going to have an endorsement list coming up, but need everybody to get involved. Need you to commit. That should be your New Year's resolution. Dave, you got a New Year's resolution, man? Sincerely, have you thought of one?
Actually, you're right. Getting more involved
Yeah.
with San Diego County Gun Owners, Automotive Museum.
Oh, nice. I was going to say, man, you've been such a cool part of San Diego County Gun Owners.
Well,
and Gun Owners Radio.
Because you're doing the right thing.
Well, thank you.
And if everybody would just, because it doesn't take a lot to get involved. And every time you go, like last year, I didn't do as well coming to since I'm a 10 ringer, and I don't even know I'm a 10.
Hey, you didn't come to any of the.
I know. Well, I'm coming to the one on
the 11th.
11th.
Good.
Yeah.
You got that email?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, good.
I think I got it on my phone.
Yeah, that'll be nice. We're gonna have, so if you're a 10 ring member, you're gonna get to come to on the 11th.
Well, talk about the benefit of being a 10 ringer, because nobody realizes what you get for being. What is it, $100 a month?
Well, it's $100 a month or $1,000 a year. So the benefits are spelled out on the join page. If you go to SanDiegoCountyGunOwners.com/join. But some of the things you get is every other month, every even number, we go shoot sporting clays, which is fun out in Lemon Grove Run Gun. Every odd number month, January, we have a mixer, and we get a speaker. Last year we had some candidates come. We had a dev group guy. We had Steve Cohen come and talk.
Awesome.
Steve Cohen, a legend in journalism. So we try to get very interesting people to come and talk, not necessarily about guns, but they all pretty much talk about guns. The dev group guy the SEAL Team 6 guy was extremely interesting.
Who we having on the 11th?
On the 11th, it is everybody, all the Republican candidates who are running for Congress against Mike Levin. I believe that's the 49th district. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sorry. Okay. All of them are going to come, and it's going to be an intimate discussion. Q&A discussion. It's not going to be some stupid debate. I told them, I said, look, I don't want leave the platitudes and the bumper stickers and the slights and the gotchas, leave it at the door. Mm-hmm. We're going to have an adult conversation. We really want to get to know you. We want to get to know your views so that people can really make a good decision. And I think that's important. I think improving
at the butcher shop.
Exactly. But don't just show up at the butcher shop, please. You have to be a 10 ring member, and you have to RSVP.
Because we will check.
We have to check. So, but that's one of the benefits of being a 10 ring member. But I got to tell you, the thing about being a 10 ring member is that's the amount of help you are giving us is huge. And the vast majority of 10 ring members, they're just like, hey, you know what? This is the financial level I'm able to support you on.
And you can do it by letting them take it out of your credit card every month. You don't have to write a check. You don't even know it's gone.
Right.
And it's the easiest thing. The hardest problem I have with it is I forget.
What? To go to the events and stuff?
Yeah, I forget to go to the events.
Well, and I used to, we do provide a lot of things, but it's not about the things.
I was just going to say, it's really not. It's about, because here's the thing. If we sit on our laurels and we don't do anything, and then the other side succeeds, then everybody's going to start crying.
Yeah.
Well, no, you had an opportunity. Right. Don't waste an opportunity. Like I tell people, everybody's got to give back, penny to a million. But you got to give back. You can't just sit there and expect Mike to do it or Alicia to do it or this guy from Peru.
Yeah, it was, I think it was like year 2, someone joined, they became a 10-ring member, and we had just gotten polo shirts, and I thought, well, gee, I'll give him a free polo shirt just to say thanks. And I called, talked to him on the phone, welcomed him and thanked him and everything. Like I said, it was like year 2. We'd only been around for like a year and a half, and I said, hey, what size shirt do you wear? He was like, extra large. Wait, why? And I said, well, we just got these polo shirts, and I just want to say thanks, and send you a polo shirt. And he goes, I don't want a polo shirt. Keep the polo shirt. I'm giving you $1,000. I want you to go do good things with it.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, okay.
Well, but that just shows the kindness that you portray from your side of it, too.
Well, I hope so. Yeah. I like to be kind.
Well,
so,
otherwise.
Alicia, what do you got? New Year's resolution.
Yeah, what are you coming up with?
Oh, don't put me on the spot.
You're on the spot.
You're on this.
I don't.
What would you like to improve?
I'm going to have to take a pass for a minute. Come
take
back to
Pat?
me.
All right,
We'll go to
I
Mike.
think
Mike
you
is
should get more involved.
Well,
because you're not involved in enough things.
I almost think I want to go the other way.
I was going to say.
You don't have enough things. I mean, you're a master gardener. You're an instructor.
It really is.
You do weird parties with weird things, with spam. I mean, you got school. There's things you probably do we don't even know.
Probably.
Yeah. That we don't want to know.
Mike, what's yours? You got a New Year's resolution?
Yeah.
Going back to Peru.
Eventually. No definitive plans yet, but primarily work on cultivating, developing myself so I could be better capable of serving.
I'm already there.
Oh, wow. What does that look like?
Cultivating my health, my finances, advancing my skills, advancing my meditation practice to have better clarity of thought, getting back into National Registry with EMT and studying Adobe Video Shop, all the different skill sets that might help.
And be a Chula Vista police officer.
You know who he reminds me of? This conversation reminds me of, remember the two guys we had in, the OG Pumpkin guy? There was Benji and Angel, and both these guys. Benji grew up and he was kind of in high school he was kind of I don't know, kind of a misfit, alcoholic, and didn't look like he was going anywhere in life. Went into the Marine Corps, went MARSOC, and now he's like this outstanding guy. Angel, he was a gang member. He was a violent gang member, and he joined the Army and got into. He was a Ranger and turned his life around. It's amazing how many gang related, or you know what I mean. Like you guys are some of the best people in the world. Some of the people that had this rough upbringing,
they get resilient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you credit that to?
There's a few things, actually. That's what I've committed quite a bit of study
What
into.
Internally? I know you said your buddy who was a cop who really brought you on. That's awesome, and a big thanks to that guy. What do you credit to internally? What internally do you credit that to? What characteristic about yourself?
It just came down to it, but spite to be nothing like my father.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I've never brought that into my conscious awareness, but he was a violent, abusive guy, so I wanted to be the opposite of that. That's probably what drove me to do good, regardless of what society and conditions threw at me.
Well, Mike, you've done an amazing job, my friend. Congratulations.
I appreciate it.
I totally get it. I got 8 mothers and 3 fathers, okay? And that's just the tip of the iceberg. And I swore I would never be like that. You, on the other hand, idolize your dad.
He's a great guy.
And,
he really
I'm envious of that, and I'm sure he is too.
100%.
Because to not have, when you say, hey, I'm gone for 2 or 3 shows, where are you going? Well, me and my dad are going
on a road trip.
wouldn't it be nice if we could have done that
Yeah.
with our dad?
Yeah.
Well, Mark Twain said something like, he said, when I was 13, I couldn't figure out why my dad was so stupid. And then when I was 20, I couldn't figure out how he learned so much in 7 years.
Well, there's that too. Yeah, but there's a lot to be said for what you don't have, and then we strive for what we don't have by knowing we're going to do things that'll make our lives better and hopefully the people around us.
Yeah. And if things didn't happen the way they did, we wouldn't talk about making a mixed spam.
So how do people help you go back to Peru? 'Cause I got to hear the rest of the story.
We're
You have a
looking
group,
for
you have
funding,
website?
investors. Oh yeah, it's 5MEO Productions. You could Google that, or Into the Phenomenon on YouTube.
5MEO
Productions. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, yeah. I mean, otherwise you're not going to go. We're not going to hear the rest of the story, and I'm going to be bummed.
All right. Well, speaking of my old man, next we're going to have a downstream product of my old man.
Yes, we are.
Sam the Gunman.
Well, you know who Sam is.
Yeah.
Smartest.
My nephew.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Thanks for watching this clip from Gun Owners Radio. If you're watching mainstream media, you're not getting the truth about guns. Gun Owners Radio is the easiest way to stay on top of the Second Amendment fight, the fight for your self-defense rights. You can watch our live stream on YouTube every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time, or if you're in San Diego, AM 1170, FM 96.1, The Answer. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform. Just search Gun Owners Radio and you'll find our show. Like and subscribe to help defend and restore the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.